Hello everybody, welcome back to Fifield Junction, and once again I've got another review for you today. Today's loco though, it's something, well, to be honest, it's a loco, well, I know Hornby have produced this loco before and they've been producing it for quite a while, but this exact loco, I had no idea that this model even existed. I never knew that Hornby had done this model. So as we can see, today's loco, as we can see on the front of the box there, we've got a Hornby Castle class for us today. But not only that, it's a factory fitted sound model as well. Obviously, in the last video, we looked at the Hornby Black 5 that has the factory fitted sound, but today we've got a Castle class for us today. Now, I do have a soft spot personally for the Hornby factory sound models that use the V3.5 and the V4 decoders. Obviously, after that, Hornby started doing their TTS range, so the proper factory sound sort of went out the window because they wanted to concentrate on TTS and producing cheaper TTS decoders. So obviously, generally proper high quality. Well, I say proper high quality. Generally, proper high quality. I keep trying to say high quality, but not all of them are. But proper factory sound. Well, not just factory sound, but proper sound decoders in general. They generally are quite expensive, which is why Hornby went for their TTS range. So obviously it was cheaper, it was good value for money for the most part. We won't talk about the speakers, but generally Hornby's TTS sound decoders, certainly for the money, they were very good value, and they were certainly cheaper than these proper DCC sound decoders. But for me, I really like these sound decoders. Obviously, these days they are quite old, so they are generally getting on quite cheap anyway. But there's something about them I just like. I just love these Hornby factory sound locos. Even though some of them aren't quite right for the era and the region that I model, I just generally like. There's something about them that I just really like. I just really love purchasing them and running them. And they just have a soft spot for me somewhere. I don't know what it is, but I just really like them. And this particular one, this Castle class, I never knew that Hornby had done it. Obviously Hornby have done quite a few different factory fitted sound locos over the years. Obviously there's this one which I recently learned about. There's the Black 5 that we looked at before. They've done a class 60, they've done a class 56, they've done a schools class as well, which I very recently learned about as well. There's loads of different factory sound locos out there. There's the 31 and the 50 as well. Plenty of option out there. If you want one, they've done an A4 as well. If you want a factory fitted sound loco from Hornby, then there's a decent range out there, and hopefully you could get one that basically suits your needs and your layout. But this particular one, I never knew they'd done it, and as soon as I saw it when I was just browsing online one day, as soon as I saw it, I thought, wow. For a start, I love the GWR Castle class. I love GWR steam locos in general, and it was also factory sound. And I thought, well, I like the loco. It's factory sound, which I also like. It was a decent price, so I thought, why not? I like it, so let's go for it. So this particular one, it is a fairly old model now. Generally, the box, though, is in very good condition. I think this is definitely the best conditioned box I've seen on these Hornby factory sound locos. A lot of my other ones, the boxes are a bit more tatty, or they're incomplete. But anyway, if we have a look at the end of the box, we can see exactly what this one is. I would say we can't see the model code there because it's covered up by the box, but it's an early BR Castle class locomotive. It's 4098 Kidwelly Castle with a sound. So it's got a decoder fitted. I'm not sure what the model code is. It should say on the front of the box actually, somewhere. Okay, I can't find it anywhere at the moment, so maybe it's down here somewhere. There we go. So this model code is R2897XS, and the XS is obviously for the sound. DCC fitted again, and then it's just the same stuff that we've already seen before. So it's the early BR green livery. Obviously, it is a GWR loco, but this is obviously into when everything was privatised and it became part of BR. So it's got BR on the tender. Obviously, originally it would probably would have had either GWR, maybe the like small gold GWR logo, or might have said Great Western. There's a few different possibilities there. If we have a look on the back, we can see there, so these were classified as 7P, so very, very strong locomotives. Obviously not the strongest that GWR had. The King class was the strongest that they had. I think that might have been an 8P, but I could be wrong. And then we've also got some information there about the Castle classes in real life. So built at Swindon, they might have been built somewhere else, but I think it was probably mostly at Swindon they were built. Quite a lot of them built. There we can see that 171 Castle class locomotives were built. I'm not too sure how many are preserved. I think there's quite a few preserved. Obviously, we've got Cluncastle still running on the main line today, which is good, and I have seen it. It looks fantastic as well as it sounds really good as well. There's something about the Castle class that I just really like. I just love the design of these GWR locomotives, especially the 460 ones. There's just something about them that I really like. But anyway, there's not much else interesting on the box, so let's slide off this sleeve and let's open her up and let's have a look. So if we just open up the box, we can then slide out the polystyrene tray inside. And there we go, we can see there. Obviously this is a second-hand model, it's not brand new, but it's been very well looked after. Very well looked after. All the instructions inside as well, there we are. I can put that to one side. So first of all, we've got the sound instructions here. Now, this is what surprised me. I already have opened the loco very quickly just to test that it still works and everything was fine, which it is. And this just surprised me a little bit. Is also usually Hornby's these sound instructions. Usually they're printed on the same size paper as the instructions are. Usually an A5 or A5 size sheet. But these, for some reason, I think are on A6. They're quite, well, if there's such a thing as A6 paper. Anyway, they are printed much smaller on a much smaller piece of paper compared to other sound instructions for some reason. So it's a bit weird. But at least we've got the sound instructions. We didn't have any instructions at all with the Black 5 last time, so we can't complain too much, I suppose. And they do list everything that you need to know. So it talks about how set the various settings. It does have a list of the sounds somewhere. I'll find them in a moment. There we go. So we can see there the list of sounds there. I haven't listened to all of them because I tested it on my Hornby Select controller, so I haven't heard all of them. But the ones I have heard, they do sound good. Although not all of them matched up with the list on here though, but I think most of them were on there. So yeah, maybe the decoder was remapped by the previous owner, I'm not too sure. And then as we can see there, we've got all the various CV settings. Should you want to change any, I think it should have the default settings for those for those various CVs as well. Yeah, all of the important stuff. I won't glaze over it too much because it's quite boring. So if we just fold those back up, if we can. There we are. So I'll go back to those later when we come to listen to the sounds. And then next up, we've got the actual instructions. So this is good, the Hornby Castle class. This is the first set of these I've got, so that's quite nice. It's always good to have some new instructions. And it should be the usual stuff, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so we can see there, so lubrication, where to put the oil, and you really don't need much. Fitting the accessories, taking off the body shell, it should be fairly simple. I think it's just a screw at the front. Yes, it is, and then just slide the body down at the front, and it should just slide out. And the tender is fairly similar. And then we've also got uncoupling and coupling the tender to the loco. And it has got that plug that plugs between the loco and tender, so you need to be really careful with that, because you don't want to damage it. And then we've also can see there DCC ready and sound. Also, we don't need to worry about DCC ready because it's already got the decoder fitted. We can see there it's a 21-pin decoder that's already been fitted. And then it's got the typical round 100 ohm speaker there underneath the decoder there. And then on the back, I've got brake rigging as well, so that's quite nice. And the brake rigging, I have already seen it is still included. It hasn't been opened, so that's quite nice. So I can fit that if I want to. And then we've got the usual other stuff there. So that's all good, nice to have that. And then we can unbox the loco itself. As you can see, it's wrapped up in the tissue paper. So, there we go. It's a bit of a tight fit to get those off, but there we are, they're off. Then we can take off the front. And if we just lift this up, there we go, we can see the accessories there. So we'll have a very, very quick look at these. Come on. There we go. So what accessories do we have? Well, as we can see the brake rigging inside there. There's some chain link couplings in there, I think, as well. And there's also a spare coupling in there inside the NEM pocket, which is nice. Then we've also got some, I think, vacuum tubing detail there as well. So that's good. I'm sure I'll fit all of that at some point, but I'm not going to do it in this video. But anyway, let's just lift up this. Grab the tender first. This is the I've actually only taken the tender out of the box so far. So I'll see the decoder and everything is inside the tender, so I didn't really need the loco just to test that the sounds work. So if we just take off this tissue paper, we are, and we'll put the tender to one side for the moment. Get rid of the paper, because we don't need that. And if we lift out the locomotive, okay, so it's still got, it's had these put back on by the previous owner. Okay, that's fair enough. There we are, get rid of that paper as well. Yeah, there we go. So we can see there, obviously these brackets on the bottom of the loco there, they're literally just there. As we can see, they just help secure the loco in the box, stops it moving around, helps protect it a bit more. What I'll do quickly is I'll quickly go away. I'll quickly take those brackets off, so they're going to be a bit annoying whilst we look at the loco in detail. Then we'll come back and we can and then we can continue looking at the loco in detail. So I'll be back in a moment. Okay, so here we are, we're back. As we can see, the loco is back in shot, and I've also coupled the tender together with the electrical connection and everything. I thought I might as well do that whilst it was off camera. At least then when we come back, at least then it's all, the loco is all together. I suppose it'll look better on camera rather than having to look at them separately. Maybe I probably need to do it, but I've done it anyway. So if we just lift the loco up very quickly, the tender, loco to tender connection on this loco, it's not, I wouldn't say it's the best. It's certainly not how I probably would have done it, because as you can see, the drawbar is actually permanently connected to the tender, and then the actual pin is on the loco. I personally would have done it the other way around, but obviously your opinion may vary. I'd say the plug on this loco though, it's definitely better than on the Black 5 that we looked at in the last video. Now I know the plug is, it is exactly the same, it's still the same 4-wide plug. However, the main thing with this loco is that the wires are a bit shorter on this loco. On the Black 5, those wires hung down a bit more, so they got in the way a bit more. They were more prone to catching on things, which obviously could damage them. On this loco though, they are more tidy, they're definitely more out of the way, which is good. But the drawbar, it's not the best, to be honest. It could be better. But then again, this loco is quite old, so I suppose we have to give it some credit there. But anyway, if we turn the loco back over, it's a bit fiddly to do. There we are. If we just get the tender drawbar hooked back on again. Again, it's a little bit fiddly to do. Come on. Nearly there. It doesn't want to go on though. There we go. Once it's in, it should stay there fairly well. In fact, it's come off. It's come undone again. Let's get that back together. Okay, there we are. Sorry about that. The tender connection was being a little bit fiddly, but got there in the end. But yeah, with that out of the way, as we can see, looking at this loco, she is beautiful. She really is very, very nice. I absolutely love the Castle class. It's definitely one of my favourite classes of steam loco. I think it just looks, well, it just looks excellent. I think it's well, I say unique. Obviously, a lot of people do say all of GWR's locos look the same. Well, certainly with various types anyway. But for me, the Castle class, even though the King was then based on it, so they look similar. The Castle, I think, just looks better than the King. The King looks, well, it's just a bit, it's basically a stretched out Castle in a way, isn't it? But for me, the Castle is definitely better than the King. Again, your opinion may differ, but for me, this is the better of the two. The buffers are sprung, and they feel very, very good as well. They're nice metal sprung buffers. You've got some vacuum tubing on the front there as well. We can see the loco's running number on the front there as well. You've got the smoke box darts, the separately fitted handrails. The handrails, they look a little bit chunky, but again, that could just be my opinion. They might, I'm sure they're probably fine. They just look a little bit chunky to me. You've got the very typical GWR style copper plated funnel at the front there. That looks very, very good. It's not, I don't think it's a separately fitted piece though. It is just painted plastic, I believe. It looks okay though, but it could be better. The safety valves, they look a little bit dull, and well, obviously they're not metal, they are plastic. So they don't look probably as good as they probably would be if this was a brand new loco today. They're okay, but again, they could be better. The whistles, they don't look too bad. I think they're plastic as well, but they still look pretty good. Overall, it's not too bad. The livery application is very, very good. All of the lining is perfectly done. I have to ignore my fingerprint on the front there. Overall, that looks very, very good. I can't find any problems with the livery at all. It all looks like it's been applied very, very nicely. You've got the nameplate there as well. That feels, I say it feels like it's made of metal, but it is plastic, but it feels very, very good. All of the coupling and connecting rods there look very, very good. We'll get to see those going around later. The cab detail, yeah, there we go. I mean, what else would we expect from Hornby? Despite how old this model is, that cab detail is absolutely fantastic. It's much better than the Black 5 that we looked at last time. The Black 5 may just had sort of I think it was just like the gold sort of detail that was in there, or the gold painted piping. But the castle, as we can see, a lot more in there, a lot more painted detail. All of the gauges have numbers and dials painted on them. I think there's locos that get released today that don't even have cabs this good. So it just shows if Hornby could do it around 15 years ago when this model was released, they can definitely do it today. There's no excuse for it, Hornby. If you can do it now, I'll start that again. If you could do it back then, you can definitely do it now. You haven't got any excuses now. The tender was also just as good. Again, if I ignore my fingerprints. Overall, yeah, very, very good. You can see you've got the I believe that's the early emblem. Early emblem. Early emblem. Strong to get my words out. The early emblem logo there. Tenders just come coupled again. That's the problem with this drawbar. Once it's on the track, it's fine. When you're trying to hold this loco, it's just an absolute pain. But there we go, back together again. Yeah, overall that looks very, very good. The livery's spot on. You've even got the little buffers there between the tender and loco. They're not sprung. They look very, very good. They're separately painted. I don't think they're made of metal. I'm not too sure, but they look very, very good nonetheless. On the back of the tender, again, more sprung buffers on both sides, more vacuum tubing, and you've got a very nice, small, slimline tension lock coupling. It is NEM as well, so you can change it for whatever you want if you wanted to. You've got some handrails on the back as well that are separately fitted. The coal load is removable, so you can change it if you want to. It comes out quite easily, so that's very, very good. Apart from that, there's not much else on the tender, I suppose. It's definitely, well, I suppose more basic in detail compared to the loco, but you'd expect that, I think. I don't think you'd expect it to be much better than the loco. Obviously, it is smaller as well, but tenders do tend to be more plain than the locos. But overall, it's not too bad. You've got some nice riveted detail and some underframe detail there. I suppose that probably would be a bit better if the model was released today. But overall, it's not too bad. It looks okay, but I suppose it could be a little bit better. But overall, it's not too bad. It really is a very nice loco. Despite how old it is, it's not too bad. But the main thing is going to be that it's going to be that sound. Now, I have already ran the loco. I gave it a good test and a quick service and everything before the video, and she does seem to be okay. She was running very, very well. I've tested the sounds. All of the sounds work fine, and they do sound good, I can tell you that. So I think what we need to do now is let's put the loco on the track, and we'll see how she runs. Okay, so here we are. So if we just grab the loco and we'll put her on the track. It should be fairly easy to do, but that front pony does seem to be quite free moving, so getting it on might be a little bit difficult. But there we go, I believe she is on. Let's just give her a quick wiggle just to make sure she works fine. Yep, oh, can we stop please? There we go. And back the other way. Yeah, excellent. Let's come back forward a little bit more. Yeah, overall not too bad. Maybe a little bit noisy, but again, it is a quite old decoder that's in the loco, so performance may not be as good as brand new modern decoders, but overall that's not too bad. It's definitely better than I've seen on other locos. But anyway, we need to listen to the sounds. So if we just grab the instructions, the very small ones, and if we just flick to the sound section, wherever it may be. We will find it in a moment. There we are. So we've got the sounds. If I just fold the instructions properly, right, there we go. So we've got the list of sounds just there. So I will run through all of them actually. Now I think maybe the decoder in here might have been remapped, because I think some of the sounds don't quite match up with what it says on the instructions. I do find, although I do tend to find that quite a lot with a lot of these older Hornby locos, the sound file, or the list of instructions with the sounds doesn't always match up exactly to what is in the decoder. So that's a little bit strange, but well, we'll have to deal with it. So obviously function 1, we'll do the main sounds, but we'll do those a bit later on. So first of all, let's do function 2, which is the whistle. Very, very good. Function 3, it says on here it would be another whistle, however, that is actually a coupling, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, there we go, that's definitely a coupling sound, but that's not what it says in the instructions. But it's definitely the original decoder that's in here, so again, I'm not too sure why that is, but oh well. Next function, it says should be the coupler, but it's not. I'm not sure what function 4 actually is, but let's have a go. Okay, it's another whistle. So I think what they've done is functions 3 and 4 have been swapped around maybe, or maybe when this decoder was set up from new, maybe they didn't quite do it properly, so that's why some of the sounds are a bit messed up. I'm not too sure, but I'm pretty sure all of the sounds are here that it says in the instructions. That's not in the correct order. Function 5, it says is the injector, but again, we'll have to see about that. Okay, no, that's definitely the injectors. The next function it says is blowout, but that's not doing anything, so we might have to have the actual sounds running for that. Function 7, it says rail clank. That's definitely cold shoveling though, so again, the instructions don't match up there. Yeah, overall not too bad, some very good cold shoveling. Let's see what function 8 is. That sounds like safety valves to me. Function 9. Okay, that sounded exactly the same, but again, it could be wrong. Let's see what function 10 is. Another whistle, okay. I think the instructions are definitely a bit invalid because most of the sounds don't match up. But oh well, whatever the sounds are, whether it's the original decoder or not, they sound very good anyway. But anyway, let's put those instructions to one side. There we are, let's continue. Function 11. Nope, function 12. Nope, okay, I think there's only 10 functions on this decoder, so a bit less than the back 5, but still very good nonetheless. So let's turn the regular sounds on. And let's get it running. We'll do about 50% speed. Overall, she's running very well. She's handling the layouts without issue. She sounds very, very good. Overall, she's brilliant, I think. Absolutely fantastic. Now, I'm not sure whether you can hear that or not, but the cold shoveling has just come on automatically. And that's one of the benefits with these decoders, is that they do play some of the sounds automatically. So things like cold shoveling, maybe safety valves, things like that. The decoder will do that automatically every, I think, over a certain amount of pre-programmed time, whatever the decoder's been set to. And that's really, really good. Definitely a very good benefit of the DCC sound. I think what we need to do now is put some coaches behind her and really see what she can do. Okay, so she's now got some coaches behind her. I've put on 5 Bachmann Throttle 3 Mark 1s. And as we can see, she's handling those without issue. Yeah, overall, I absolutely love her. She is absolutely fantastic. I didn't even know Hornby did this model until I saw it online. And I'm so glad I got it, so it really was worth the investment. Because she is absolutely stunning. She runs well, she sounds great, she looks the part. Yeah, she's amazing. If you want one of these locos, I definitely recommend you get one, because they are well worth the investment. And now let's have some ratings for the Hornby GWR Castle class with DCC sound. First of all, the detail, overall it's not too bad. I've given it 8 out of 10 because whilst overall it's not too bad, especially in areas such as the cab detail is really nice. Lots of it, even better than some locos that are brand new in this day and age in 2023. But in a few areas, I think, such as the safety valves and maybe a few other areas, whilst it does look okay, I feel like it could be better. Especially again with the safety valves, they do look a little bit plasticky. They don't look as good a quality as probably what they could do. The chimney I think is similar with the copper top. It could be better if it was a proper copper top. I think sometimes painted detail, it doesn't look quite as good as metal details, so I think maybe those areas could be improved, and it's the same in a few other areas, but overall no major complaints. Overall the detail is very good, again considering how old the model is. I think the detail is not too bad. The performance of this loco, I really cannot fault it. Overall it's absolutely fantastic. The loco performs incredibly well. It's really smooth, it's quiet, it's nice and consistent, and the sound fitted to the loco, the decoder, it's really good. I really cannot fault it. It's just a top performance loco. Really can't fault it. It's really good. I just can't say anything negative about it really. It's such a good performing loco. The quality, again, such as the detail, whilst overall it's really good, again there's the odd few areas where it lets it down slightly. Again, I think it's the similar thing with the safety valves and the chimney, with them looking quite plasticky and cheap. But overall, I'd say the quality is really good. The build quality is fantastic. The model's been put together really well. It feels quite sturdy in the hands. Obviously, some of the details do feel a little bit delicate, but I think you get that with a lot of locos that have a lot of detail on them. They're not going to feel bulletproof. They are going to feel a little bit delicate in some areas, but overall, the quality is really good. The value for money, overall, it's not too bad. I've given it 9 out of 10. I really wanted to give it a bit more. I did want to give it 10 out of 10. But I feel like maybe with how old this loco is, I feel like it should have been a little bit cheaper. I think I paid around £190 for the loco, which overall is not too bad. Again, definitely considering it's a factory fitted sound loco. But I feel like considering how old the loco is, the decoder's quite old. I feel like the model should have been a little bit cheaper. But overall the price, it's definitely, I'd say, up there in terms of the maximum price I would recommend paying for a loco like this. But overall, the value for money, I think what you get, it's really good. So that's an overall score of 8.75 out of 10. Overall, a very good overall score, I think. Obviously, I think it could be slightly better in a few areas. Again, considering how old the model is, overall, it's not too bad at all.